Hello, Catherine here, and welcome back to another episode of Should I Be Worried? And now this episode will surely get your skin crawling. I know it did mine as I was researching this. It's not necessarily so scary as it is just gross, but also kind of scary because it could also hurt you. Okay, so I decided on this topic because I've been out and about more in the wilderness, aka I've been taking my dogs on walks around my neighborhood a little bit more than usual, just because it's nice out and it's, spring is finally here and we're gonna be having summer soon. And with all of that, I kind of have that feeling in the back of my head, this scared feeling of getting attacked by a tick. So what are ticks? They are insects that feed and ultimately survive off of blood from a host. So that can be, animal host or human host, whatever. This part is going to be really icky, especially if you kind of are already susceptible to that feeling of creepy crawlies on your skin. So bear with me. But what ticks do is they are kind of hunched or waiting on a branch or a twig or some grass or in on a leaf or something. They have their two legs, their back two legs just kind of grasp onto this branch, and then their front two legs are there to kind of grab on to an animal or a human or whatever. And so once they do that, they grab onto you, and then they scurry on your skin until they find a good spot, usually a well-hidden spot or a sheltered spot. And then what they do is they jab your skin, just kind of burrow into your skin just a bit, and then it just like stabs your skin with its feeding tube, and then it just kind of suckles at your blood for days. And the cool thing, I say cool because it's also very scary, but some of them have like a cement-like substance that will make it so it's even more difficult to get this tick off your skin. And then they also have this anesthetic component to their saliva that makes it so you can't feel always when they are doing all this jabbing and burrowing. Now, as these ticks are sucking your blood, they're also ingesting any bloodborne pathogens you may have or an animal may have. And then also on the reverse, their saliva can infect you with pathogens from another host that has a certain bloodborne disease. So there are several different diseases that you can get from a tick, but the most common one, or the most popular that we hear, is Lyme disease. Now, we hear about Lyme disease because people have shared their stories, including celebrities like Avril Lavigne, who said that Lyme disease essentially made her bedridden, or she says it a little bit more explicitly, for like 2 years. And a lot of the time with people who are suffering from Lyme disease, the doctors don't necessarily, I think, take their concerns into account. They think that maybe it's some sort of psychological thing or a mental thing that's not necessarily a physical thing. But fortunately, there's been more talk about Lyme disease, and now I think doctors are just a little bit more receptive to patients who are exhibiting symptoms. So what are the symptoms of Lyme disease? Well, they are headache, fever, fatigue, and then this rash, which is called I have a feeling some of you guys just watch this video just to hear me mispronounce different diseases or sciencey terms, but your erythema migrans, which is, it actually kind of looks like a rash similar to ringworm, so it gives kind of like it has like a bullseye look to it. And so those are the common symptoms. But if the disease spreads more or it gets worse, It can lead to really bad joint pain as well. And again, like fatigue can get really bad to the point where people don't want to get out of bed. So it can become a pretty serious disease that can be honestly remedied by antibiotics. Now don't worry, if you have been bitten by a tick, you probably don't have Lyme disease. Well, it depends on where you are. And I'll get to that. That's very ominous, I'm sorry. So first, if you can determine that the tick is not a black-legged tick or a Western black-legged tick, then you don't have Lyme disease. Those two types of tick, which the Rocky Mountains are the divide on Western and the just plain black-legged tick, those two ticks carry Lyme disease. And not every area in which those two different types of ticks go are more susceptible to Lyme disease. So the ones that you have the greatest chance of getting Lyme disease are found in the upper Midwest and the Northeast, which is great because I live in one of those areas. In fact, a study published in 2018 said that about 50% of black-legged ticks in the upper Midwest and Northeast have Lyme disease, which is great to hear. But fortunately, the thing that you have to realize is that the ticks have to be on you for quite a while in order to really give you Lyme disease. So experts say at least 24 hours, most say between 48 and 72 hours. So if you catch it in time within that time frame, you're probably good. If not, you do want to get tested. I would say if you see that you have a black-legged tick on you, it has like a reddish black body, and it's not very big. If you see it on you, you should probably get tested for Lyme disease because again, you don't want it to progress into these really bad joint pain and fatigue. But ultimately, what you can do is just avoid ticks altogether by treating your clothes with the proper kind of insect repellent and avoiding areas where you probably suspect ticks to be, like in high grass or really brushy areas and in wooded areas, not on like a clear path. Actually, ticks are pretty smart because they usually go by areas where people walk, and so they can kind of tell where people walk, which is crazy that these ticks are this smart. But so yeah, I mean, just ultimately, and then if once you get back from being outdoors, even as simple as a walk with your dog in your yard or in your neighborhood, check yourself and your animals too, because they can also get ticks, and they can also have the bloodborne illnesses transmitted to them as well. So check yourself, take a shower within 2 hours of coming back from inside or coming back from outside, and ultimately just be vigilant. That's, I think, ultimately, maybe I should just change this channel to be vigilant. So that's it for this episode. Thanks again for watching. I have a podcast as well, which you can find on pretty much any platform. I usually go into more details. In this one, I will go definitely into more details about what kind of other diseases you can get from ticks, as well as some, I guess, just more details about the different varieties of ticks. So if you're into that, please check out my podcast. If not, just keep watching this every Monday. I thank you again. Bye.